Lucifer, the morning star, fell tumbling down from the doors of heaven. He fell with his wing-tips singeing. Well, I just had an image of Lucifer being thrown out of heaven. And I had this, I just thought, very often when we start stories, we start once upon a time. We start at the beginning. We start from a kind of stationary place. And I loved the idea of starting a performance with the already mid-action. So Lucifer is thrown, and that's where the story starts, with this tumbling character. And she waved goodbye to the people of the town. As she walked out, they threw up handfuls of petals. She walked along, riding the horse, out of the town, crunching on the broken glass as she went, through the streets of the city until they reached the edge of the city. Just beyond the edge of the city, where the horse stopped. And the horse turned his head and looked up at the soldier. And the horse opened its mouth. And the horse said, "Well, master, the world is wild and the world is wide. Where do you wish to go?" Well, I mean, this story has changed entirely almost from how it was when I first told it. When I first used to tell the story, I just told this story without any musicians, and it was about 45 minutes long, and it was very much in the fairy tale realm. It was kings and queens and castles and forests and gold and all that sort of thing. And then I had an idea that I wanted to work with Laura and John, the GlowGlobes, because I've known them for quite some time and I love the music, and I think that their music has a particularly atmospheric and magical and kind of story-like quality to it. And I was loving telling this story, The Girl Who Became a Boy, and I was loving their music, and I said, well, why don't we try and work together and kind of extend the story, maybe frame it and turn it into a longer event and a performance, turn it into a performance. And so we started to do that, but when we showed it to our first sort of audience, the comment came back that the kind of the musical world and the story world were not really meeting. So they seemed to be existing in slightly different worlds, and that either the music, the kind of the sound of the music needed to change to fit the story world, or the story world needed to change to fit the music. And at that point, it was easier to change the story world. So we translocated it to a post-apocalyptic world in order to try and find a deeper connection between the music and the story. And it was post-apocalyptic because I didn't want to set it in a historical time. I didn't want to set it in a known historical time, and I was also interested in this idea of what a futuristic fairy tale landscape would look like. So actually we changed a lot. Yeah. I'm worried that this soldier is not doing his duty. Tonight, go to their bedchamber. Put your ear against the door and tell me what you hear. Right. The two men, they went away. They waited for everyone to be asleep. They followed the couple to their bedchamber, and when they were in, they put their ear to the door. They listened. Well, they heard talking, they heard laughing, they heard snoring. So the next day, they went to the Gypsy King. They said, "Oh, Your Majesty, this is all we hear, talking, laughing and snoring." And the Gypsy King, he said, "Well, this is no good. I did not set out this challenge in order to find a man who could not fulfill his function. This is no good at all. You must find a way for this soldier to meet with an accident, to clear a path for another man, and see to it that the blame is not laid in my door."
Business of my appropriation.
Well, the structure of the piece is that The Girl Who Became a Boy is the main story. So that's probably about an hour long-ish. That was what we started with. and that was the story that I wanted to tell. But through working with that story, I found certain themes emerging and certain imagery that was being repeated, and found kind of those images repeated in other stories, and so wanted to bring in some stories to kind of frame that main story in order to sort of bring further context to some of those themes and images and to kind of deepen those themes. So the Adam and Eve story it starts with that, because for me that embodies part of what this piece is about, which is about this idea of opposites and trying to search for balance and harmony. So that kind of sets up that theme, and then the Tiresias story is just frames the main story.